the country right now, but he did send a message that he asked that we could read. So he says, "My name is Seth Stewart. I am running for city council because limited government is crucial to the survival of my family and yours. You will notice that meaningful checks and balances almost never enter our political discourse. Instead, we often end up wasting our time debating the micromanagement of government programs that should never have existed in the first place. Whether the issue is excessive spending, outside interference through state and federal subsidies, or tax abatements, investment or development projects that take away our people's autonomy and unfairly favor certain businesses above the interests of the people themselves. Untethered tax increases, increasingly restrictive water metering, or too little attention paid to the condition of roads and basic public services, which are the real functions of government, the solution is to adopt a limited form of government. In terms of our city government, this would be a charter. The current theory behind the city's powers is that the state legislature decides what the powers of the city shall be, usually without strict limits on that power. Under this theory, municipal governments are mere appendages to the state. However, this theory rejects the true principles on which the United States are based, that ultimate sovereignty rests with the people. The federal government did not create the states created the federal government. In a similar way, the state is not supreme above its people or its cities. The people have power to set limits on municipal governments and keep them in check by the use of a charter. A charter is to a city what a constitution is to a state or federal government. Today, our city is beholden to the state instead of to the people. Where is the document approved by the residents of our city that says what the power of the city shall be? If I am elected, I will move our city toward a charter form of government where the people have the say in what the city has power to do, restoring our full voice in our municipal government, and setting the mayor and city council free to fulfill specific enumerated duties approved by the people, instead of doing the bidding of outsiders. I have also called for advertisements of sexualized material to be removed from our city. For more details on what I stand for, and to find answers to other questions, I invite you to visit my campaign website, SethAndrewStewart.com, and ask your questions there. And that is the statement he sent. All right, Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Josh. So I'm just going to go over the housekeeping really quick again. We're going to go ahead and start with a 2-minute opening statement from each candidate. After that, we'll ask questions, and we will start with Stacy, and then after that we'll go to Ryan, and then we'll give a 2-minute statement just in a second. If any of you would like to have a 30-second rebuttal after you've given your statement, then let me know. That is an option. I just understand that for everybody that has a rebuttal, that we will give the same opportunity to the other two candidates if they would like to take that. We'll go ahead on the questions. You'll have 1 minute to respond, and we will alternate so each person has an opportunity to be first, second, and third on those questions. At the end, each candidate will have 90 second closing statement. So let's go ahead and start with Stacy. If you want to, you can just go ahead and talk from there.
I really cannot see you, so that could be good or bad, I suppose. Hello, I'm Stacy Carroll. I have been serving on the City Council for almost the past 8 years. I'm here today because I love American Fork City. I love the values that we share of helping one another, supporting local businesses, and taking pride in our city's heritage. I am proud of the work that I have done for you, including creating and maintaining a general fund balance, which is the city's savings account for unexpected downturns, using impact fees to purchase a large parcel of land near the lake for a park and fire station, implementing the transition of still days funding from the city to the Chamber of Commerce sponsorship, saving thousands of dollars to taxpayers, helping the city keep up with state legislative changes and advocating for our city with the legislature, and continually advocating for increased communication between the city and residents. So why am I asking for your vote again? The answer is that I feel I am more valuable council member now than I was even 4 years ago. I have built relationships and trust with city and regional leaders that allow me to be involved in conversations and allow me to pull for residents' needs. The city has been running well, and we are picking up momentum in many areas. I believe that I am part of that momentum. My focus from the beginning has been on city infrastructure, and the City Council has placed enormous weight on infrastructure issues in the past few years. There are projects that we've made progress on that I would like to see through. If you go to my website or talk to me, you will find that I often focus on things we have done or things we are working on. This is for two reasons. The first is that I view elections sort of like a report card. I should be reporting to you what I have done. The second is that I am tired of elected officials who say things without backing it up with actions. I want to show you that these aren't empty words. I am working for you. I hope you will consider me for one of your votes on election day.
That was very impressive, being on a 2-minute talk, right? My name is Ryan Hunter, and I just want to say thank you. It is amazing to not be able to see anyone out there. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to the Chamber, to Joe, to my family for coming and supporting me. Those who know me, this is not where I want to be. I'm not comfortable standing in front of people and talking. Mayor Frost made the comment earlier about if you'd have asked me 10 years ago if I would ever be in this position standing on a stage, there's no way. I did this actually out of a kind of a response and a request to serve. And I don't consider myself a politician. I look at this as public service, and it's my way of giving back. In looking at the things that matter most to me, it's protecting and creating an opportunity for my children. We raised, my wife and I, Erin, have been married for 24 years. I grew up here my entire life. I did live we moved all the way to Lehigh for several years, but American Fork's always been home. I'm 6th generation, and it's important to me that my children have a future in this city. And as we go through these questions, I think you'll learn why that matters to me. I kind of am an old soul. George talked about horses. We raise our horses here. I feel like there's an opportunity to instill the core values that American Fork was founded on as we raise our families here. And that can be done whether you live in an apartment in the TOD or whether you live on multiple acres in a horse property. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and read mine also because I am so nervous. I'm not even sure my legs are going to support me. Standing up, I'm with Ryan. I'm not liking to be up in front of people, so I'm also glad that I can't see everybody. My name is Deb Anderson, and I'm excited to be running for American Fork City Council. My family roots run deep in this community. I was born and raised on 5th East in the same neighborhood as Mayor Frost. My sweet mother, who just celebrated her 80th birthday, still lives in my childhood home. I am proud to be an American Fork caveman, just like my husband, Rich. We started our family here in December of 1995 and have raised our 4 beautiful children in this wonderful city ever since. I'm running for City Council because I love American Fork and its citizens. I want to see our city continue to be a place that we are proud to call home, a place where neighbors care for and serve one another. Most of all, I am running because I love to serve. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to serve our community through many different roles. In my local congregation, at the Recreation Center, where I've worked for the past 7 years, at the Senior Center, and through volunteer efforts such as Blankets for Seniors, trick-or-treating on Main Street, and Still Days activities. I serve because I love this community and its people. I love seeing the smiles of our seniors as they walk into the rec center for senior fit class. I love the cheerful "Hi, Miss Deb" from the kids. Running for City Council wasn't in my long-term plans. Honestly, I blame my husband for encouraging me to take this step, 100%. But I know this is what I'm supposed to do, and I know I can make a difference. People have asked me what I bring to the table, what my platform is. The truth is, I'm not a politician, and I don't come with a rigid platform. I'm a citizen, and I want to focus on what matters most to our citizens. As a city council member, I can guarantee that when someone shares their concerns with me, they will have my full, unbiased attention. I bring honesty, integrity, and a fresh set of ears and eyes. We may not always agree, but I will always be straightforward. After listening carefully to all sides, I will vote for what I believe best represents our citizens and benefits our city.
Thank you. Here's the first question, and we'll start with Ryan, and then we'll go to Deb, and then we'll go to Stacy. Please list 2 or 3 of your priorities, if you are elected or re-elected, that you would like to accomplish, and how you would accomplish them.
Thank you. The 3 biggest things for me are similar things that I was pushing for. It's probably the biggest reason that I'm running for re-election. Fiber, roads, and sorry, brain fart, but public safety on the south side, on the lakeshore side of our city. Fiber has to happen. My perspective on that, there's not enough to answer in 30 seconds more, but fiber has to happen. It's critical. It's not just a, hey, that'd be nice. Has to happen. My perspective on it has changed on how we go about that a little bit. Secondly, roads, I'm sure it'll come up, but we're going to have to talk about how to get multiple avenues to get into the TOD area and anywhere on the lakeside of our city, and that anchors the need for public safety on that side. Our response times just aren't enough. Our individuals want to respond, but they can't get there.
I'm going to say that my biggest thing is probably dealing with the south side of American Fork. I've spent a lot of time speaking with citizens in that area, and I've spent time going and visiting that area at key times of the day. And we definitely need to look into getting more circulation for the traffic and looking at the density that we're allowing to go into that area. And I would agree with Ryan on fiber, and I'm a little biased about that because we are only able to get us one type of internet service, and it's not good. So I would love to see us be able to get a better internet service. And the thing would also be roads, which falls right in line with my previous answer.
Okay, so I have a couple of priorities. One is, when we're talking about roads, there's 2 different things. One is road maintenance, and that is a huge priority for me. Keeping up with the maintenance as well as being able to rebuild some of the roads that have really gone down, that's a huge priority. Number 2 is what people would consider more like traffic, and for me that's really building connectivity. When we talk about things on the lakeside of our city, it's not just, we gotta get some more roads. We have very specific roads that we have located, and we're working on the funding. In some cases have the funding that we are building. Once you build more connections on those roads, you're able to move people through. One other thing that has been a big priority for me and that I intend to continue is city communication. When I first got onto the council, I had people encouraging me to be the one that was communicating, and it became clear very quickly that we needed to have official city communications. And I hope I even have more chance to talk about this because I'm running out of time, but to me that is a huge issue.
Thank you. I've got 2 questions. I'm going to combine them because they're very close. And
Can I ask a question? Are there questions that will refer back to these 3 items? Because if they're not, I want to rebuttal. I should.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to let Ryan have a 30-second rebuttal, and then when he's done, Deb and Stacy can have an opportunity also.
Okay, I appreciate it. So with 30 seconds, these 3 critical components of why I'm running again, I'd be remiss if we didn't get to talk about it. So the roads, there are 3 key things that we're working on the lakeside. Lakeshore Drive has to happen. We can't improve 200 South until we have other avenues to get into the TOD area. The TOD was dropped in our lap, and we have that. Lakeshore Drive, I want a frontage road between the freeway and parallel to I-15 that'll allow us another access to get in there that doesn't take 3rd West. I have a plan.
We'll have more, I'll make sure there's more questions regarding infrastructure. Do either one of you want to take 30 seconds?
I mean, if I answered the same thing twice, I will. Essentially, I just want to say that with the connectivity, those roads that Ryan mentioned are very important. It's a huge focus of ours, but there's also other roads. 700 North connectivity is a huge one that we're working on that will help with that east-west connection. And 300 West is really something that we're also working on, connecting that. So there's more there.
Thank you. Okay, this question, we're going to start with Deb, and then we'll go to Stacy second and Ryan third. Are there any plans to revitalize Main Street to make it more inviting? Maybe more trees to make it more lively and vibrant?
I can't speak to whether there are more plans or not because I'm not currently serving on city council, but I can say I had a really fun conversation with a neighbor that served on the beautification committee for several decades, and it was brought to my attention. This is something that is a concern of the citizens. So it's something that if you're interested in, I'm interested in as well, and I would love to hear if there are plans, because I can't answer that. I'll turn the rest of my time over to these two.
Okay, well with Main Street, we did make one minor modification to allow for some more flexibility in parking. One of the things that I've actually been concerned about is the lots in the area are really, really tight. So revitalization is really hard when we have strict parking requirements. So I want to make sure that people have the ability to park. So we're trying to figure out what that would look like, having the ability to park, but also not restricting revitalization or redevelopment. We have a couple of ideas of what that might be, but yeah, it's something that we talk about quite a bit. We have, as you probably know, it's a UDOT road, so we have periodic conversations with UDOT. For me, one of the things that I would like to see with Main Street is more walkability, easier to cross the street, especially making the sidewalks wider and more inviting. Those are things that I would like to see, and we have made initial steps, but there's more to do.
Awesome. Stacy mentions the fact that our main street, our downtown core, is anchored by a state road. That's very challenging. They have a whole different intent for our downtown than I do, and that I think most of us would have. The real value is being able to create a community feel and still be anchored by what really is a road that we don't have a whole lot of say in. Part of my day job, well, not part, a majority of my day job is working with municipalities across the state. This is a big part of what I've been working with in the city since I've been on the council. We have to be very careful about how we talk about this, because we don't disclose a lot of the things that we're in the middle of as it relates to this, because then things get blown out of proportion with cost. But we do have plans. The economic development being on the offensive that Mayor mentioned earlier is a big deal. I'm actually working with several of these businesses that want to come to our town. Super excited. Another reason why I'm running.
Thank you. We're going to start with Stacy and go down the line. The rec center seems to be old and it gets crowded. What are your thoughts of making improvements or building a new one?
I anticipated this question because, as you may have known, it was on our citizen survey. We asked specifically what people thought about this. I will say this, though, we haven't had a serious conversation where we have made decisions about the rec center. We haven't even had what I would consider good options analysis so that I can see how much things cost and what different forms that might take. For me, I have a lot of different ideas of what it might be. We could rebuild where it is, we could retrofit what it is, we could scale it down, we could look at other cities coming in and helping us. There's a couple of different options that I would like to consider, and yet we haven't quite had that discussion. For me, I do think that if we were to go ahead with something, well, this isn't the thing, this is a definite. If we were to go ahead with something that we felt like was an option that was viable, it would need a bond, and we would make sure that that was a bond that residents get to vote on. So this is not just a city council decision.
Perfect. This is number 6. I have a list of priorities. This is number 6 on my list. It's not that I'm not in favor of a new rec center or improvements to the rec center. I think there are too many priorities that are ahead of that on my list. In addition to that, probably my biggest concern about the rec center is that about 45% of the attendees at the rec center are not residents of American Fork. If we are out of space, and we don't have space for lap lane use or whatever it is, right? When my kids get kicked out because there's too many schools using our pool, multiple schools use our pool, that's a concern for me as a resident who's paying for the building. If we're going to expand it, I think I'm all for being a good neighbor. I'm not for subsidizing all of the neighbors who don't have a rec center so they can use our stuff. Again, it's on my list of priorities. It's number 6. I have it, but not at the expense of allowing our neighboring cities to benefit on our bond ability.
I am obviously pro-rec. I've worked there for 7 years. I had to quit because of running for city council, and I cried. Well, not really, but I was close. I love my job. I love the patrons that come into the fitness center, and so I would be for building a new fitness center. Of course, ultimately, that decision comes down to the citizens of American Fork, and I would hope it did get put up for a vote. If it didn't pass, I would love to look at other options for improving it, because that was certainly something that a lot of the patrons came and talked to me about, their concerns for parking and for space. As far as other schools using it, I know that they do pay quite a bit of money to be able to use the pool, and so my hope would be that if we build a new rec center, it would provide a place just for the swimmers, and they could subsidize that by paying for that, and it would free up a new pool for the residents to be able to use.
Thank you. Start with Ryan. Here's the question. What is your opinion of the role of the city council as if there ever came an incident where involving ICE or the Immigration Customs Enforcement, if they were to come to American Fork, what would you say to them that the residents should do?
Challenging question for sure. Human rights issues, as they're perceived, is clearly not something that we need to take lightly. Obviously, our role as a city council, that's not something that's necessarily in our purview. I think the important thing is to be treating everyone with respect. A comment was made earlier about that. It's one of the great things about American Fork. It's not in our true value system to be chasing and running people out of our city. That said, I do believe in the rule of law, and so we need to come together and support each other in helping to answer that. The reality is it's not under the purview of me as a city council member, or frankly anyone else. But I do know loving our neighbor is a critical part of who we are, the core thread of American Fork.
I'm going to piggyback off of Ryan's answer. I really like that. I don't think that the city council plays a role in that, but I would say that I would just have to side with the law and with treating everyone with respect and following the law. I really appreciate his answer.
This has been a topic that I have also been concerned about. I've had a chance to talk with our police about what their current interactions with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And essentially they said what they have been doing is if there is a criminal activity and they find out the person has immigration status, no immigration status, then they do call in ICE and they work together with them. Otherwise they do not, and they said that's what we've been doing for years and that's what we continue to do. That I am in favor of. What I'm not in favor of is having ICE come in and use our officers for their services. And we have seen some neighboring cities that has been an option for them. It's not an option for me. For one thing, our taxpayer funds are using our police officers to keep our city safe. And I want to make sure that those funds are still continuing to do that and not something else that is actually the purview of some other agency.
Thank you. Deb, we'll start with you. Give us your vision of infrastructure in the city.
That's a big question.
You have 60 seconds.
I have 60 seconds to answer that question. It's tough because I am coming in as an outsider, and I understand that when you are serving on city council, your perspective is so much broader than my narrow perspective. So I can give you what my views are, but I don't know how far I can take them on my own. But I really would love to see some improvements south of the track station, and as far as the infrastructure goes there. And it sounds like there might be some things in the works, and so I would love to be a part of making those things actually happen.
Apparently I can't do the three thing. Infrastructure encompasses a lot of different things, so this question is very broad. So what is your vision for infrastructure? Well, I mean, we're talking about water and our sewer and our storm drain, as well as our roads and the utilities underneath the roads. And that I kind of am struggling because I don't know where to go there, other than I think the thing that I would most want to emphasize is that it's a high priority for me, and the highest priority for me. I think one of the things that really was an impetus for me running originally was concern about our water system. I wanted to make sure that there was enough water for the residents that were coming in, and making sure that it was clean. It was really great actually running for city council to learn a lot about how we were doing things. So for me, that was a huge issue. And we're continuing to do that. We actually every year apply for grants to upgrade our water lines, and we're continuing to upgrade those.
All right, this is a big themed topic to cover. I will say that there's a lot of things. I've got several notes, so I'm just going to refer to those. But completion of the water line from AF Canyon down to the shoreline of Utah Lake is a huge thing. One of the frustrations about utilities is that they typically are hard to visualize. But we talk about the severity of our road system. Well, I would have been really frustrated if we had a 30-inch water main from American Fork Canyon all the way to the lake, and then it did that right after we just redid all the roads. Having a holistic approach to our road system and doing the infrastructure beforehand is long-term thinking, and it's really important. We talk about the weir. We just rebuilt the weir at the mouth of the canyon. The well rehabs across the city. That's a huge thing. We've been doing several. We've got a couple more that we're doing. There's so many things that go into the infrastructure. All I can tell you is that having a holistic approach, putting in new lines before we put a paved road down is critical to me.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with Stacy this time. How many council meetings and work meetings have you attended in the last year? Maybe it should be rephrased. How many have you attended, or how many have you not attended? How would you want to answer that?
Is my husband here? Have I missed any? I don't remember missing any. So we have, if you don't know, we have every other week we have either a council meeting or a work session. And occasionally, maybe one or two have I missed throughout the year when I had a trip or a commitment that I had to miss. But in addition to that, we actually have our committee meetings that I attend very regularly as well. I'm currently, they switch up, so we haven't always on the same one. But currently, I'm on the library board and the Park Tax Advisory Board and the Legislative Policy Committee. So I'm also very regular attending those.
I was getting ready to dance. Nobody wants to see that. There was a question about, how many meetings I missed. I have been out of town on a couple meetings, but I believe I've dialed into every single one of those. I can't recall missing one. Please. It certainly would be the very rare exception if I have. I appreciate Stacy's comment, but in addition, the weekly meetings is one thing. I would add to that the sheer amount of time it takes to read our packet. Anybody that hasn't read one of our packets, holy Moses, that's an endeavor every week to be able to go through that, whether it's for the work session or whether it's for our typical city council meeting. Those are hundreds of pages long. In addition, assignment-wise, I'm chairing the audit committee for the city, economic development group that was recently mentioned. I'm trying to remember what else. Anyway, there's a lot of meetings and I haven't missed any.
That one's probably a little easier for me to answer. I've been attending them regularly, just the every other week meeting at City Hall for the past 5 months. And I had attended a special session that they had actually last night. That was the first one I attended that outside of the City Hall meetings. And I don't have any boards that I'm assigned to yet, hopefully. And so if I do get elected, I will be going to just as many meetings because that will become my full-time job.
I was just going to mention, Stacy actually mentioned this earlier, and I think it's kudos to her, but one of the things that we have added is the ability to call into a meeting or to have the live stream be able to be shown. So it's really fun, and I've had several residents reach out to me to be able to have the ability, even they may have a second home. They live here, but maybe they're snowbirds or something, and so they'll be watching our council meeting from St. George or Washington City or something like that, and that communication is really valuable. So I think it really goes to not only us as council members or potential council members, but also residents, and the communication is really great.
Thank you.
Or it's getting better.
Stacy, would you like to have 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'll just say I want everybody to also come to council meetings so that you can watch yourself on video and see how demoralizing it is. That's great. But it's run through YouTube and it creates a record of our meetings. So I was actually going back and watching something from 2019 that we did, and I say that joke about the demoralizing because I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, that's me. But literally I could go back and see what was said in the meeting. I can hear the people's inflection and see what was happening, so it's good. And you can fast forward it.
Yeah, would you like to be second? Okay. We'll start with Ryan this time. Ryan, what is something that you wish more AF citizens knew about city government?
About city government, one of the greatest things that happened when I came on the council was being able to go see our water system. That's been brought up a few times. Somebody 100 years ago, I don't remember when it was, had the foresight to be able to invest and make a decision that has benefited every single person in this room, including the very campus that we sit on. Our water was gifted to the City of American Fork and is shared with the Developmental Center and the City of American Fork, and was gifted by the President of the United States. That is as fresh and clean a system as there is in my opinion. I'm clearly unbiased and uneducated about it, frankly, but we went and toured that and saw the lid. We opened the lid to that stainless steel vault, water rushing right out of the granite wall, and the only thing I could think of was to grab a tin cup and drink it straight out of that. It is absolutely impressive, and that's just one example of a bunch.
I am going to plead the fifth. I'm joking, my husband told me not to say that tonight, but I don't think that I can answer that. It might be something I can answer a little bit better if I am elected and find out things that I definitely don't know about city government.
Okay, I jotted down a couple things because I was third. There's actually a few things. One, I wish everybody understood the certified tax rate and how our property taxes work. We can talk about that in depth later. That would really help with understanding of how things are happening. I wish residents understood how restricted funds worked. I wish residents also understood how the state regulations affect our city and limit some of the things that we can do. I hate that. It sounds so squirrely to me when I say, oh, I can't do that because the state won't allow us. I hate that, but it's the reality. I would love residents to know that when we put in new development, the developer pays for the roads and the water and the infrastructure that goes in. We aren't subsidizing new housing, they pay for itself. And the last thing I jotted down is I would love residents to know that if they come to us and they give us their opinion and we don't follow what they said, it's not because we didn't listen. We are so grateful when they give us feedback. That is so helpful when they give us feedback. But sometimes that decision goes a different way, but not that we didn't hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to start with you now. What are your plans, or how do you see the best way to handle or take care of growth in the city?
Man, did you have to start with me on that? That was a tough question. I love growth. It's wonderful. Like I said, I've been here 50 of my 53 years, and so I was old American Fork when we had one stoplight. If you go back and watch the original Footloose, that was what I grew up with. And fast forward to now, and it's a very different city. But I would say that we probably have reached our capacity for high-density housing, and I would love to maybe see that slow down. That's all I have.
Okay, here's some thoughts that I personally have about growth. One is that it is hard to keep up with the pace of growth. Thankfully it has kind of flattened out a little bit, so it's a little bit easier for us to keep up. But we have a good general plan, and our general plan has delineated different places where growth can happen and what form that would take. And in the case of our city, what we get asked over and over again is, hey, can you move this zoning to high density? Or the other one we get asked all the time is, can you move this zoning to industrial? And we say no over and over again, because we are sticking to this plan that we have. It's a really good plan. This is serious business. I remember one time, probably about a year ago, it was a resident of our city, or at least a landowner in our city, that was really upset that we had voted no, and I kind of spearheaded the charge against that. And as I left the meeting, I looked back and the police were following me to make sure that they weren't following me home. Like, this is something we're dealing with pretty much constantly.
Managing growth, that's probably the biggest thing on everybody's mind. We're not going to stop the growth that's coming and that is here. Everyone wishes, there was a question earlier about 10 years ago what we wish would have happened. The thing is, the decisions that we make today are 10 years from now's decisions. We need to really have that in mind. I'm a huge proponent of the master plan. There's one on our council who likes to consider himself the parking Nazi. I argue with him every time he says it, because it always comes with a but. I'm okay with this. If this is lowered, I can't stand that. Parking is a huge issue. We need to protect it. Same thing with wherever we have density on our master plan, I'm totally okay with. We've got the infrastructure, we planned for it. We have roadway, or we've got master plans for roadways. Very recently, we had one that I was the dissenting vote because they wanted to change the zoning for it. And it was a 4-1 split. I'm not okay with that. If it's not on the master plan, I don't think we should follow it.
Can I give a rebuttal? It's not actually a fake grant. I actually wanted to say one thing I didn't have time to say is that we get enormous pressure from the state to put in higher densities, and there are metrics that they have to induce those things. And one thing that I have been asking for many years that I've been on the council is to get credit for the density we've already put in instead of only credit for density that we are continuing to put in. And I actually just in the last few months heard some meetings where they were talking about that exact thing. So, something I just wanted to bring up.
Okay, we're going to start with Stacy this time. What are your priorities for the city budget for this coming year?
Okay, priorities for this coming year. I actually wrote a note on this one too. Sorry, you guys probably think I'm crazy that I write this stuff down. For this coming year, my priorities are really still, if you think about, I know I keep harping on it, but I have in the back of my mind, it's always infrastructure. So the road maintenance plan is a huge priority for me, continuing to add what we can to there. I was telling somebody the other day that, like, especially now where I'm walking all the city streets and reminding myself of some of these things, it's still something that's a huge priority for me. I would say that continuing to upgrade our water lines, we've had a number of breaks in our water lines, so we can't prevent all of them, but if we can do that for some of our aging water lines, which we have continued to do, that's a huge deal for me. Yeah, I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. Priorities for budget. Stacy mentioned, and she's dead on, there are restricted funds. That's one of the priorities that we have to understand. When we were doing park tax, everybody was like, well, why don't we use, we spend all this money on a park or a play or a program, an arts event. Why didn't we put that on the road? It's like, oh, well, because that can't be used for that. So Lakeshore Drive to 1500 South has to happen. It's a critical road. We've been negotiating with the landowner as recently as Monday. The intent is to be able to put Lakeshore Drive, extend it over to 1500 South, which will create a secondary access to that tertiary, really, access into the TOD. The second one for that is the frontage road I mentioned earlier between Pioneer Crossing, adjacent to the freeway, be able to get another access into 200 South. Once those are done, then we can start working on 200 South. It'd be irresponsible to do 200 South without other access into that area. Public safety, I'll do a rebuttal.
I haven't been able to work on a budget, haven't been on city council, but I would say from the outside looking in, infrastructure would definitely be at the top of my list, encasing everything that goes with it. And then definitely police and fire, because I think it's so important. The things that they do to protect us and save our lives, it's so important to take care of them and make sure that there's the proper training and the proper equipment for them and that they're paid for what they do. And then I would maybe add a fitness center as a number 3 thing. I'm not sure I'd put a question mark by it, but it definitely would be in my top 5.
Okay, awesome. There's so much to cover on these things, and they're priorities for a reason. Public safety on the lake side of town. We've already acquired, people probably don't know this, but we've acquired a home that's going to be a temporary fix so that we can at least have individuals down there, so in the event of an emergency, we have response times that are adequate, and that lowers our insurance. In addition to that, fiber is a huge one. We've got to move the ball across. We've got an MOU that's kind of it's been approved. I don't think it's signed yet, but getting that across the finish line is a huge thing. That will buy us time, public safety-wise, to get the Station 5-3 designed and built.
Stacey, would you take 30 seconds?
I'll just say that my third thing that I was going to mention was public safety as well. I know that's reiterating, but I've had a strong focus on infrastructure and public safety the entire time. And one of the things is making sure that we have adequate resource, that we have enough people. Something that we have struggled with as we continue to grow. That's something that we have to do, but also their equipment, their cars and their radios and things. We have things that we have to do mandated by the state, so it's a huge priority on our budget.
Yeah, would you like 30 seconds? Okay. Starting with Ryan this time. What are how would you like to address affordable housing in the city?
What I am not in favor of, I'll start with that. I'm not in favor of automatically allowing every single lot in our city to have an accessory dwelling unit. That will blow up our infrastructure. We've been talking about utilities and infrastructure. If we think it's bad right now, if every lot then becomes essentially 2 dwelling units, that can be a significant issue. Internal dwelling units, which are mandated by the state, that we currently allow in all of our zones, short of the TOD, which are basically because of the nature of the TOD, every other one of those can have that. So I'm in favor of those. Those are traditionally, if it was a 5-bedroom home to begin with, and now we're, putting a door. In fact, I talked to Kelly and his son-in-law, similar kind of experience, right? you're not necessarily increasing the number of people living in those dwelling units. That helps with affordable housing. It creates these dwelling units that are allowing that. There was a question earlier about, additional types of dwelling units.
I told Ryan I could give him my minute because I'm not quite sure how to answer this one. I really don't have a great answer. I understand the complexity of it. We have ourselves 3 kids that are old enough to try and own their own houses, and it's just not available to them. And I can see the beauty of wanting your kids to be by you and be able to move to American Fork, but I also think that we have to be really careful about the amount of high density housing that we bring into the city. And so I think it would just be taking a step back and really looking at it from a broad scope and trying to make the best decisions for the whole for that if I am elected.
Okay. I think the mayor mentioned this if you were here for him. There is not one silver bullet, but I have a couple of different things that I have been talking about and working on. One is the idea of allowing smaller single-family homes on smaller lots. So it's not an apartment, it's a single-family home, but it's on a smaller lot, it's more affordable. I would love even if some of our designated high density could even move to that. That would be wonderful. I also think that if we could condominiumize or give the ability for condominiumizing apartment complexes, so that means that it could be owner-owned, or instead of rented, it could be owned. That would help people to start build up their equity in a different way. So that's something that I've been working with the city on over the last couple of years, is making that a viable option. I also think that I like a mix of housing types within our city. To me, that is a strength. I don't want to turn everything to high density, but I want there to be an option for people, places to live.
Okay, so 30 seconds to Ryan.
Thank you. ADUs, we talked about the state, this is going to go to the legislature this year, and so one of the things that there's been some frustration, why doesn't the city come out with a code for this or a plan for this? It's because the legislature's going to see it. It's going to hit this, it's going to happen this year, and the state's going to mandate something. We'll have to respond to that anyway. Back to the comment about types of housing, we were talking about that earlier about, my starter home looks entirely different than the home I live in now. I think we've also got to come back to reality that a single car garage is okay, maybe an 800 square foot cottage or bungalow, more like what Stacy was referring to. I think we have to have reality checks too.
Deb, would you like to 30 seconds? Stacy?
I'll just mention, I think Ryan already mentioned this actually, might be reiterating. Allowing an owner-occupied dwelling unit, accessory dwelling unit, so that's internal within the home. It's required by the state, but I also think supporting that with our ordinances is important because that will allow some people to have that as an option.
Thank you. This will be the last question, and after that we'll do a 90-second closing statement. We'll start with Deb. What do you see as the biggest quality of life challenge facing American Fork families today?
I think that the quality of life in American Fork is fantastic. We have so many things that we offer, from still days to our rec department and all of the different children. I mean, there are thousands of kids that sign up for the rec sports, and we have our still days parade, and we have the holiday magic when they light up Robinson Park, and just so many fun things. I would say in talking to the residents that the biggest challenge is infrastructure, because it affects their daily lives. And I actually had somebody tell me today that she said, I try not to leave my house because it's so frustrating to try and get out of my driveway and get onto the roads. And so I think that might be at least what I'm hearing from residents is that that's the biggest challenge for quality of life.
I will agree with Deb. Our city does a really good job. I think we have a large number of parks, which I'm quite proud of actually, and we offer a lot of services. I think to me the library is quite important. Having the ability to get that education or other services through the library is super important. Some of the issues that I think are there might depend on what part of the city that you live in. For example, there's some areas of the city that really don't have good sidewalks. To me, that's a quality of life issue. Either they don't have them at all, or they're up and down. So we actually do have a sidewalk plan which we have been fixing, but for some people that's a huge issue. Along with that is the ability to bike around. I actually, a couple of years back, instituted a bike rack program so that businesses could get a bike rack if they wanted, so that if you're riding your bike somewhere to a destination, you can actually put it in there. Yeah.
Oh, quality of life, that's why we're all here, to be totally honest. That's why I'm here. I think American Fork was founded on the blue-collar principles. I wonder sometimes how many people wonder why we call it Steel Days, and it's because we were founded, I mean, my grandpa included, he was a steel worker, right? I mean, we're blue-collar people, and I'm proud of that heritage. And typically that insinuates that you're probably less concerned about the wants and more concerned about the needs in your life. Those needs are transportation. Those needs are something, you know, the things like roads, sidewalks, having sewer when you flush the toilet, it works. Nobody wants to deal with that. The American Fork is founded on volunteers, staff, committees. There's thousands of people that do all of those things. We just are harnessing that to be able to benefit.
Would you like 3 seconds, Stacy?
Yeah. Just one more point I wanted to make. I mentioned sidewalks as an example, but if you live on the lake side of our city, I think that having adequate green space is another quality of life issue that might be important for people. We mentioned that we bought land for a 30-acre park. I'm so proud of that. It's one of the things that I really am proud of that we were able to do. But I think that there needs to be more green space. If you're going to have some density, you have to have still open space for people to go to.
Ryan, would you like 30 seconds?
Is it me or? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that. The park is huge. It's funny because we talked about council assignments, and Councilmember Carroll replaced me on the Parks and Rec committee and the library thing, whatever. But both of those are huge. The bike rack program is awesome. We have that available. That's part of that committee when we put that together. In addition, that 30-acre park is absolutely critical to being able to have density around those areas, but still have a regional park that will be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, would you like 30 seconds?
No.
Okay, now we're going to go ahead and start with Stacy. You have 90 seconds for your closing statement, and we'll just go straight down the line.
Okay. I did actually write up a closing statement with the ability to pinch it if I needed to. I'm really grateful that the Chamber did this today, that we had the ability to be together and talk about these things. I think it's really important. For most of the time when people ask me how they can learn about the candidates, for me this is the number one thing. Being able to see them talking, being able to listen to them and how they interact with people, that's very important. Here's the closing remarks that I have written. As I wrap up my second term as your council member, I've reflected on what is needed to be successful in this role. Here are 2 things that I feel like I have come to value most in myself. The first is the ability to listen to varying perspectives and change my mind when needed. I've never thought that I've had all the information, and I've changed my mind countless times when given new information or views. Coupled with this is the sense to take a stand when needed and lead the conversation to a place where I personally feel comfortable given the information. The second is my ability to learn and adapt as new issues arise. You cannot know what problems will come up in 4 years. We need folks who can learn fast and have the context to understand things coming down the pipeline. For example, I didn't plan on becoming a semi-expert on our school's funding, but dove in when it was needed during the school district split. I believe our city has been running remarkably well. We've been working well together, working to save money and make fiscally responsible decisions. I would like to continue on the momentum we have built, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, gosh, I did not write something. I will tell you, the only reason I'm running is because there are certain things that I feel like we're almost there. There were 3 key things. I've talked about them several times with many of you individually as well as up here. I want to see those through. It's really important to me that we have somebody that will make a decision today that will benefit generations down the road. Fiber is one of those things that I relate it to the water that 100 years ago somebody talked the President of the United States into giving us. We have to have those infrastructure things. The completion of Station 5-2 was a critical component, including having a contract where Cedar Hills offsets the cost that we had to pay anyway. That's a huge benefit to us, to the tune of about $2.2 million a year. We did 12.7 or 12 what is the number? $3 million in roads last year. That's a huge thing. That's made up of, Stacy mentioned it earlier, maintenance $4.8 million, $7.7 million in capital improvements. Everybody's been frustrated with the improvements that we're putting in because it disrupts life. First West, the Boat Harbor Road, that's a huge benefit now to that area. The continuation of Automall Drive is just about done, being able to tie that in and have a frontage road that actually works east-west across there. Our pay for our mental health support, public safety, 12.8% pay increase to keep up and maintain our public safety just in PD last year alone. It's huge expenses. And I'm asking for your vote, please.
All right, my brain is mush, and so I'm actually just going to finish reading my opening statement because I didn't quite have time, hopefully. American Fork has so much good to celebrate, and I believe those who have served before have done a good job. But as I listen to residents, I know there's more to do. Recent concerns I've heard include infrastructure, parks, senior services, managing growth, particularly high-density development, supporting businesses that want to come to American Fork but face challenges with city processes, ensuring citizens on the south side of town feel heard and represented. As you can tell, sorry, I'm getting emotional. I love American Fork City, and I love their residents. And while there's much to celebrate, I believe we can do even better. A vote for Deb Anderson means that together we can make it better, and I'm just asking for one of your 2 votes.
Let's go ahead and give all a round of applause to all three candidates. We really appreciate their willingness to serve the residents of American Fork. I know that it's a job that requires a lot of sacrifice. If any of you are wanting to get more information about the candidates, we encourage you to go to the websites, to call them, talk to them before you vote. And thank you very much, and have a good night.